What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood. He's managing editor of State of the U. You can follow him on the X at Underwood Sports. I'm Brian London. You can follow me at Miami Radio Bees. Cam, normally we would start the show with football. There's portal, there's recruiting, there's stuff going on. But no, we're going to switch it up. Remix.
Wait. Are you going to throw a curveball, Brian?
I see what you did there, Cam. You are so smart. Yes, I'm going to slide it right in. The baseball, that is. Ooh, look what you got props. We have to talk UM baseball because it's been an unbelievable month of April and the start of May for a team that we had both written off and fired the coach and were blasting, and they have completely done a 180 like I've never seen. Maybe the most miraculous turnaround in recent Miami sports history. I'm not sure I can think of another one that was up there. Marinate on that while we discuss that. I'm not asking you for answers right now, but we'll think about that. But certainly what JD Arteaga has done with this club over the past month plus has been nothing short of remarkable. They took the series against NC State this past weekend. The third game got rained out as the rainy season has started here in South Florida, and they got two series left. Plus a midweek game with FIU here. They're at Virginia, then home against Notre Dame. Their RPI has gone up 10 spots in the last week, according to D1 Baseball. They're at 25 in the RPI. They're at 6 in the strength of schedule. They're 29-18 overall. If you're looking at their postseason portfolio, they're 6-11 against quad 1 teams, but 11-5 against quad 2 teams, 2-1 against quad 3 teams, and 10-1 against quad 4 teams. By the way, I have no idea when this quad thing became a thing because it seems to be like this year, but that's neither here nor there.
It's been a thing, but it's similar to like basketball and just trying to kind of parse out good teams versus bad teams, basically in a sport where there's 300 and something Division I teams and whatnot. Even with the rise in the rankings that, has happened recently, like holistically, since like we went on our, I'm done with this team, fire everybody rant, the increase, the improvement has been exponential. Like I think they're up like 50 or 60 spots since then in like RPI and everything. Like, it's like 10 in the last week, but like it's been that or more week over week over week. So just wanted to pop in with that. But yeah, they're cooking with fish grease, man. And again, we excoriated them loudly here, and want to, have the praise be as loud as the critique. And this is after, their ace pitcher Nick Robert tore his UCL. He has Tommy John surgery. He's out for the year. So he was the Friday night starter. He was, supposed to be leading this rotation. He tears his arm up, and we get better. Like, I know that, I've seen, guys who know a lot of these younger players from high school, like Eric Marrero and whatnot, who's on the Magic Twitter machine and everything. And he's like, we just need to play the freshmen and, do that. And ACC pitcher of the week, Daniel Cuvée, returning to be Daniel Cuvée because he was some other shell of a player earlier in the year. And now he's hitting the cover off the ball like the second coming of Pat Burrell. And, it's really been incredible to watch, and I largely wrote them off, and I've been silently watching, since like I think they won a couple of games, and I was like, I'm going to watch a little bit. I'm not going to say anything about it. And then they just have been on this supreme roll. So, hey, credit where it's due. They're playing awesome baseball.
So I love this stat that your man Craig Smith has up on stateoftheu.com. Go check it out, which is after Miami gave up 13 runs to Duke on April 11th. In the rest of the 10 ACC games that came after that, they only gave up more than 4 runs once. They gave up 4 runs, 6 runs, 2 runs, 2 runs, 2 runs, 1 run, 4 runs, 2 runs, 4 runs, 3 runs. It's not just Cuvée in the offense. It's the pitching, as you said, without their Friday night starter getting the job done as well.
Yeah, and then you have Brian Walters, the younger brother of Andrew Walters, closing it down from the back end of the bullpen, throwing 98, 99 like his big brother. So he's coming in and locking it down. There's a lot of other names, a lot of other guys. Just everybody who's stepping out there is doing their job. And a lot of guys who are doing it really well. Dorian Gonzalez is playing really well. Like I said, they have really, really come on super strong. And credit to them because, you know, at the time that we first went on the, you know, this season's over, fire everybody, I'm not paying attention anymore rant, that was prime. Pack it in, you know, go through the motions, get to the end of the season. Who cares?
Correct.
We're terrible. Like that was that moment in which they could have all quit because it was terrible.
Bad.
And they rallied. They said, hey, we're playing for pride. Like we are better than this. And we're going to show it starting now. And they have. So like I said, yeah, we critique them really hard and we're going to praise them just as hard here, man. So yeah, they shout out to UM baseball. Probably still not going to host a regional, but look firmly in the in the conversation for the 64 team field. I mean, like, look, when we first went on our, you know, when we in the midseason when we wrote them off, they were not even projected to make the ACC baseball tournament.
Correct.
Now they're projected to be like what, second or third? Like it's just the turnaround has been, you know, incredible. So shout out to them, man.
Yeah. So and the funny, not the funny thing is, but so I was watching a bunch of video, just trying to get some insight and watching JD Arteaga's press conferences, and you know, like he's giving maximum coach speak, right? We're taking it one day at a time. We're 0-0 every day. You know, we wake up tomorrow morning, we're 0-0, blah blah blah, right? Which is great. At some point, when the season is over, wherever that ends, hopefully it's in Omaha, right? I need to know what butt was kicked, like what button was pushed somewhere around the beginning of April to get this turnaround. Like this didn't just like, this wasn't just like, hey, we're 0-0, go out there and play better. Like there had to be something, right? They're like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if like JD broke a chalkboard. I don't even know if they make chalkboards anymore. You know, one of the players only meeting. Something had to happen where this
like,
team is just completely different.
Was there a baseball version of the "I'm hurt, dog"
Possibly
speech? You know what I mean? Like it had like this is just so the turnaround is so stark that it wasn't just a hey, pretend that you're playing. Well, I'm going to call it what it was in Michigan was Catholic League rules because they wanted to speed the games up. So every at bat when you played Catholic League teams or if you went to a Catholic League school, every at bat started 1-1 because high school pitchers are trying not to have them throw 140 pitches.
Right,
so maybe it's like, hey, pretend that we're in high school and you're playing Catholic League rules. Every at bat is 1-1, or take a pitch every time, or it could be something that's small, but it feels to me like you're saying there was a major moment, singular, that everybody came together and it all flipped because the performance has flipped. So, like, yeah, I'm also looking to see what it was.
I mean, just watching casually, like, you know, like it just everyone just has different body language. Like it's like a different group of people out there than it was, you know, in mid-March when it was just looked pathetic. Maybe Pedro Serrano showed up and sacrificed a chicken and brought Joe Boo along. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened
for Joe Boo too.
And I don't think we're gonna find out anytime soon because you know coaches tend to keep that stuff down. Yeah. But at somewhere along the lines, there's going to be some sort of postseason interview, something or other, where someone's going to say something about something and be like, "Oh, that's got to be it," because they're playing great baseball now, man. It's just, it's now it's fun to watch again, right? Now it's got my juices flowing a little bit.
I agree, man. It's it's worth watching. It's fun to watch. They're playing great defense, situational hitting. Like they didn't even.
They stole home, the road. Cam. They stole home.
The greatest and most exciting play in baseball, like you tweeted, right?
Yep.
But, you go on the road and it was up in where was it, Carolina or NC State or something, and you only have 4 hits in the game, but one of them is a 3-run home run by Daniel Cuvée. You win 3-2. You win that series on the road. You know what I mean? So it's not even like they're just hitting the cover off the ball every single time, but you needed it in the moment that you needed it. And your superstar delivered it. And whether it's been him or anybody else on the roster, it's really, really been great. And, credit to them because Yeah, I mean, hey, we were not the only people who wrote them off. Like, there were plenty of people who, said that on the show and on social media, like, responded to it and, like, texted my phone or probably your phone as well. Like, oh my God, yeah, they suck and it's terrible. And like, what happened, kind of from the Godfather, like, look what they did to my boy, this is the team that I used to love and everything, and you've destroyed it. And they've just gone out and destroyed everybody in their path since then. And credit to the team, the coaches, the whole entire organization, man. This is University of Miami baseball. And I shudder to think what this could have been if you'd have done this from the beginning. Now, I know something had to change to get you here. But, man, like this is what we wanted. And we knew that this was inside of this organization. Why did it take so long?
And I'm sure we'll talk about this more as we get towards the end of the season. But here's the turnaround. Now I have expectations.
We've always had expectations.
No. But like in March, I couldn't see a path to Omaha, right? Like I didn't see a path through the postseason. Gotcha. Now I'm starting to be like, well, if the Magic's hitting now, it's a good time for the Magic to be hitting. Wait, can they win some postseason games? Can they find their way to Omaha? Do I have to, do I have to cancel some summer reservations? What's happening here?
I mean, so then, like, are you talking expectations or hopes and dreams being make it to the super regionals and see what happens, or it's like, nope, old school, just like with football where the standard is the standard, in baseball the standard is Omaha. So I'm looking at
listen. If they win the last two series of the year and they're really hot and they do well in the ACC tournament, now I'm going to have some expectations that we're gonna at least win a regional, make it to the super regional, and compete. I'm not booking a hotel in Omaha yet, but whereas that wasn't like, at least I think like now, like, all right, like anything's possible. You never know. You can get lucky.
Yeah. At least it's on the radar.
Right. In March, it was like, there's no way. You're funny. There's that. So, props to them. Cam and I will both sit here and admit we called them out, and we'll take it back and, get her done.
Wait, I don't take it back.
Oh, no. Okay. Not take it back. We were right at the time. We are no longer right.
They have their performance has made what we then said wrong.
Right.
And so I don't take it back, but they have updated their performance. Right. It has definitely gone the way that we hoped it would. Didn't see the path forward then, but credit to them for having the faith and then also going out there and performing to the requisite level. I don't take it back, but that is the thing where it's like, oh yeah, cold takes or, expose. I'm like, we weren't wrong, but they're not the team that we're watching now is not the team that we were watching then. And that's what we wanted.
It reminds me of like a kid, right? Like in 8th grade, he was like 5'2" and you called him Shorty. And then he shows up freshman year of high school and he's like 5'9", and you're like, oh, that growth spurt? Oh, no longer Shorty. Huh?
Yeah.
You grew up over the summer. Yeah. That's kind of what happened. All right. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we got a lot to get to. There's still portal stuff going on. We're still waiting for a big commitment that's out there. There's a huge deal made in the world of ACC football that we need to talk about. And we also need to pay tribute to an OG Miami Hurricane staffer that unfortunately passed away. We will do that all on the other side. You're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. Welcome back to the Real Ones Canes podcast. He is Cam Underwood. He is managing editor of State of the U. Go check it out at stateoftheu.com. Open 24/7, 365, free. All the great info, news, and hubbub you need to know about your Miami Hurricanes, you go find at stateoftheu.com. Some great articles up there now. Go check it out and hobnob with Cam and his great crew over there. I'm Brian the Beast London. You can follow me at Miami Radio Beast, and I'm the managing editor of the bag of Swedish fish that is just off camera that I can't stop popping in my mouth. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, I know you have the Swedish fish, but if you had to pick Swedish fish, Haribo Gold Bears, where are you going?
Oh no, Swedish fish.
Okay.
Here's. I don't like traditional gummies, Cam. I don't like gummy bears, gummy worms.
Fair.
I need like a softer texture, if you will, with my chewy candy. Like I need like a little bit of a softer texture as opposed to gummy bears, which are, I don't know, there's a consistency there. So it's a textural thing. I don't. Yeah. Well, we'll do it. We'll do a whole nother episode on my candy likes at another time. That'll probably be summer fodder.
I'm more of a chocolate person myself.
I like chocolate too. I will, by the way, I will fight somebody that tries to tell me that red vines are better than Twizzlers, but that's a whole nother situation. I will fight someone in the candy aisle at CVS over that.
Okay.
I will lose a physical fight, but I will throw down in defense of Twizzlers. Okay, let's get to the portal, because the portal is you cannot enter the portal anymore for this. Like, if you're still on a team, you're on a team. But if you are, if you had put your name in the portal, you're out. You could still be looking for a home. And the University of Miami still has some options out there, although they are dwindling. They did miss out on Halsey. That was the kid from Houston that committed to LSU. And there had been some fodder all along that if he got an SEC opportunity, he would probably go there. What I've read, I don't know if this is true, is that he kind of priced himself out of where Miami was willing to go and didn't think he was necessarily worth what he was looking for. And Miami held their ground. Now, the fans for that school up north will tell you that Miami got beat out on the NIL offer. And there's a difference between being beat out or just like, hey, we don't think he's worth X.
Yeah. And, it smacks of Al Golden era recruiting. Ooh. When, there were many a blue chip player who pimped Miami for the offer that they really wanted from somewhere else.
Right.
Free trip to South Beach, hang out, pictured with Rick Ross down at Prime 112 and, whatever, but really holding out for something that they desired elsewhere. And it seemed like it was trending that way with AJ Halsey very early on in his visit and everything. And then, if you're not really trying to go to that, trying to go to that place.
By the way, if you're listening and not watching, Cam just got attacked by a 17-foot long fly.
Yes. Something like that. But if you're really not trying to go to that place, then you put out a number that they're not going to meet. So it's like, well, hey, yeah. And yeah, it was just kind of, that's kind of how we understand things to have broken. But in the absence of AJ Halsey, Miami then pivoted and got Jacoby Thomas.
Right.
6 foot, 200-pound safety of previously Middle Tennessee State and then Tennessee last year, where he played 13 games, had 22 tackles, 3 TFLs, a sack, a fumble recovered, and 2 PBUs. So a big physical kid. He played in the SEC, played in every game for Tennessee last year, had a couple really nice games, had a tackle against Florida in their game against them. But I mean, this is a kid, if you watch the highlights, like, you talk about big, fast, and physical, like 6'2", 200 pounds, he can move. And there were a couple of times that, he got to the ball carrier and it was unmitigated violence. And I love that. So, he is another guy with maybe not the all conference credentials of a Halsey. Like, if I had to choose, I would take Halsey. But, hey, that wasn't going to shake. And then we went somewhere else and got, a player who can come in and, if not surely start, then compete to start and offer a little bit of a different skill set just because he's a little bit bigger and more physical than, some of the other guys in the room. So, he played, he played middle of the field. He played in the box. He even played slot corner. I saw somebody ran down the number of snaps at each of those positions. I think so, but he played more than like 300 snaps last year for a playoff team in Tennessee. And he's another good addition to the defensive back room. So yeah, that was a good get. Also, Kamal Bonner from NC State, linebacker, another Georgia guy from Colquitt County. So that's, like Nye Carr, also from that same alma mater. And we're chasing Jay Lamar, a very top-end running back in this class. Running back coach Matt Merritt was either there yesterday or today to visit Jay Lamar, who's full given first name is Ty Javion, in case you were wondering. Just because that's the old teacher in me. Like, I'll call you the nickname, but I need to know the name. Actually,
right.
I learned this from another announcer when I was announcing all the time in high school. I worked at high schools, if y'all don't know, and I was the announcer for everything, including football. And the rule that they told me, this older guy, he said, the first time you call someone's name in a game, call their full government name. Pretend like it's their grandma's first and only time watching a game. They want to hear that. After that, you can go to the nickname. So like Jermaine Grace went to Miramar as an example. His nickname was Country. But the first tackle he made, and he made like 20 tackles a game, the first one was always Jermaine Grace, number 2 on the tackle. Then after that, okay, Country Grace or Country whatever. And so like that just sticks in my brain. So when I see these guys with these, like Nyquavian Carr and Ty Javion Lamar and everything, I just think of that. So I always say the full government name. But in any event, running back coach Matt Merritt was visiting that player, also an alum of Colquitt County. So yeah, we're working on it.
All right. So they got a couple of receivers in Keelan Marion, who's also a return guy from
All-American return guy.
Yep. They got Tony Johnson, who's going to play in the slot. I think they got a really nice pickup in Chamar Brown, the running back from North Dakota State. I watched a bunch of his film. He looks like he's the real deal. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Sorry. Shamar Brown, who won the Jerry Rice Award as the National Freshman of the Year at the FCS level for the national champion North Dakota State Bison. Yeah, that guy, that'll work. He's big and strong and, very, he's quick. He's not the fastest in the world, but like that's a player who can play. So, I know people were talking about, oh yeah, Miami got an FCS running back. We got the National Freshman of the Year who started on the national champions at that level. Like a program that's had multiple first-round picks. Like this is not just any, jabroni.
Listen, North Dakota State, they may be FCS, but they are a championship program all the time.
They're powerhouse, like they're a dynasty program. Correct. So you get somebody off the top of their roster, not like, you took their 5th string walk-on guy, but again, the National Freshman of the Year at the FCS level. That'll work. So he has more years to play as well. So that'll work. Also, we talked about it before. Bert Auburn, the kicker from Texas, huge get because like we needed, kickers are people too. So we had to go get him and everything. So yeah, I think we've done a lot of really good business in the portal, even here in the spring. So I like where we're at.
Yeah. So as for what's still out there, there's a couple of guys I think they have their sights on. The kid out of Houston, Nickel, Keontae Scott, and then the linebacker from Rutgers, Mohamed Toure. Those are 2 of the guys that are still out there. And then maybe they'll try to find a defensive tackle somewhere, although that's looking less and less likely is what I feel like.
There were a couple of names I saw floated. I forget them at this very moment, but, kind of, rotational or, they can battle for rotational snap kind of guys out there. So, yeah, we're continuing to look for another body at that position, which I reiterate is why I was kind of hopeful that Josh Horton would stick around because, if you have the potential on the roster, then you can develop it and use that. So, yeah, I think that we've done very well. And that's on top of everything that we've already brought in for spring, from the portal, including your new starting quarterback, Carson Beck, now that he's healthy or getting healthy reportedly and throwing. So we'll see.
By the way, this just came across the Twitter sphere, which is the nickel, Keontae Scott. I think he's going to announce tonight at 7 p.m. So by the time you are listening or watching this episode, he may have already decided he's going to be a Miami Hurricane or not. So don't blame us. We can only tell you what we know when we're recording the show. We're recording around noon on Tuesday, May 6th. So whatever happens after we record this, listen, we can't predict the future. Just letting you know what's out there.
Blame Brian. It's his fault. Just blame Brian.
Blame me. Yeah, correct. Yeah. All right, so that's kind of the portal update. And there's also maybe a recruiting update coming soon, and that has to do with the number 1 recruit in the country. The offensive lineman, Jackson Cantwell, out of Missouri, is going to decide in about a week. He still has a trip to go, if not two, right? Georgia and Oregon.
Just Georgia. He went to Oregon.
He went to Oregon. Yeah. So just Georgia's coming up, and then we'll see.
And that's going to be, this one is, toe to toe going to the end. Another 5-star Miami was recruiting Kenny Pepe, committed to USC. He's originally from California, excuse me. He's at IMG Academy now. So like a lot of those players do, he's going back home for college as his current commitment. He was on the radar, but obviously not as closely connected to Miami in terms of recruiting as Jackson Cantwell. I know Georgia is going to go all out. They just got a recommitment from the best quarterback in this class, Jared Curtis, 5-star from Tennessee. And I know that he is, trying to get Jackson Cantwell to kind of pair up with him and be like, hey, I'm the number 1 quarterback. You're the number 1 offensive tackle. Let's go play together, So Alex Mirabal just visited Jackson Cantwell, and that, was obviously a thing that you would do. Cantwell himself has said that Miami is the team that is recruiting him the hardest. He hears from both Mirabal and Cristobal every single day. Throughout his recruitment, Cantwell has said that O-line development is at the center of his priority list, and that is something that even with all due respect to all of the other teams that are recruiting him, Miami is leaps and bounds ahead on that. And, your head coach is an offensive lineman, offensive line coach, his best friend, offensive line coach, and he's developed, several, superstar players along the O-line in his career, including the currently highest paid offensive lineman in football, Penei Sewell from my Detroit Lions. So, we'll see. But again, I know Jackson Cantwell loved his time at Oregon, and they have a shot here. Georgia, like I said, with Jared Curtis, the number 1 quarterback in America, and just being Georgia, has a shot here. And Miami, has been firmly entrenched in this recruitment all the way through. So we will see what Cantwell's decision is next week, Wednesday, on the 13th, 14th of May. He does have an unofficial visit scheduled to Georgia coming up this weekend before Mother's Day. You would love always to get the last visit and everything, but we will see what happens. But, regardless, Miami is going to fight all the way to and through signing day for Jackson Cantwell. Hopeful that, the commitment that is forthcoming from Cantwell is Miami. It might not be, but, hey, this is what happens when you chase after elite recruits. Sometimes you get them like Francis Mauigoa. Sometimes you don't, like Jeremiah Smith. But you got to be in it to win it, and Miami is definitely in this recruitment. So we're going to continue to push like we've been and see, where the chips may fall.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't. All right, so just breaking this morning, again, we're recording this Tuesday afternoon as my mic falls. Clemson and Notre Dame have signed a long-term agreement to play annually. They were already going to play a bunch of times over the next couple of decades anyways, but they're going to play every year. And this is, I think, yes, it's about marquee matchups, and they've kind of, they've played in a bunch of marquee games over the last few years anyways, but I think this has more implications than that. Cam, tell me your read on it, but for me, it looks like Notre Dame is trying to make sure that they have at least one kind of, marquee game on their schedule to help with their their postseason hopes. And for Clemson, to me, with the new revenue model in the ACC, where things like ratings matter for games, Clemson needs to make sure they have, some of those must-watch games on their schedule. So for them, I think this is about creating a ratings generator that will be a money generator. What are your thoughts as these two teams in the ACC are kind of in the ACC? One is an ACC team. The other one is a part-time ACC team. Don't get me started on that. But what are your thoughts on this whole thing that came down?
Yeah, well, it's a 12-year annual agreement. So I know that Notre Dame was scheduled to play Clemson in 5 of those years. So it will just count as that game. But so that counts as one of their ACC contract adjacent games in those years. And in the years that they were not scheduled to play Clemson, it won't be one of those. If you remember that football games are television shows, yeah, this is a great show. You're going to want to see it. You're going to want to watch it. It's going to drive ratings because, Clemson has emerged as a major brand in the last 15 years, and Notre Dame is a supreme national brand. Like, they have their own TV contract with NBC outside of anybody else. So, yeah, eyes are going to be there. This is a huge, ratings generator and everything. I think that both teams do have marquee games annually anyways, but you're adding another one in those, the majority of the years in this contract where you weren't going to be playing. So I think that that's huge. I think you're going to see teams doing this where they can, and I know Notre Dame always has national games. They play USC annually. That's a huge game as well. But now, so you're going to be like, okay, I got USC, I got Clemson, we got Navy, which, people love the service branches, so they're going to watch that and everything. So yeah, you get more, and I'm sure they got a couple more annual rivalries on there, in their thing. But yeah, it helps everybody, or it helps those teams because remember, football games are television shows, and that's going to be one of the marquee episodes, in every season. For Miami, we had, so comparing this or looking at this, Miami perspective, Miami's playing Notre Dame a lot in the forthcoming years.
Yep.
You got this year, next year, 2028, 31, 32, 34, 37. So, there's a lot. And Miami also has major non-conference games. You got Florida again this year. You got South Carolina in 26 and 27. You got Utah in Las Vegas to start 27, Auburn in 29 and 30. So, there are some of those in addition to your normal schedule and everything. But, yeah, I could see teams going where they say, hey, we need another marquee game on top of the future scheduled games. And I think this is going to portend that for other teams.
And just a thing to look out for, with the SEC increasing their in-conference slate, that might kind of preclude, I don't know what that word is. That might kind of get rid of some of the future matchups that they may have with out-of-conference opponents because they're adding conference games. So we'll see what happens there. But, listen, I love big-time college football games, regardless of who's playing. If Miami's not in them and I happen to be home and I can watch it, I'm going to tune in because I just love the sport so much. But, I think it's good for the sport and good for the conference. All right, so my mic falls again. Just so I want to end the show on this note. We lost a big time member of the Miami Hurricanes family recently. Her name was Connie Nickel. Most of you probably have no idea who Connie Nickel was. So let me give you a story and tell you a little about her. Connie Nickel was a Michigander. So Cam likes that. She came down here to work at the University of Miami. And she was in the athletic department in a million different roles for decades, maybe 30, 40 years. Okay. When I came to know Connie Nickel, it was in the fall of 1994 when I was a member of the Band of the Hour. And at that time, Connie was the director of game ops for the Miami Hurricanes. And that would mean that basically everything that happened in the course of a football game, basketball game, baseball game that wasn't on the field was her responsibility. From what music was played during timeouts, to when the band played, to when the cheerleaders got out there, to when they gave away prizes, to all the stuff that goes on that has nothing to do with what goes on the field. That's what she was in charge of. And so that's, when I was in the band, I got to know her a little bit because she would, come out to practices a couple times. And, the Band of the Hour is kind of a child without a home. It's not really in the School of Music, and it's kind of in the athletic department, it has like, it's got like it's like a divorced parent situation, who has who, and we're having custody battles and what have you. But Connie represented the athletic department in kind of in charge of the band. So whenever we traveled to games, she would handle that. When we had to go to bowl games, she would handle that. Had to get our tickets from Connie, all this stuff. So that was her job. And here's a story about her with that. So somewhere, my timing on this, I don't know if it was 95 or 96, somewhere around there. When FSU would come to town and they would play the chant, right? Bum, 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 bum. The Miami student section would do the chop, but would have their middle finger extended.
Yes.
Instead. Okay?
And change the lyrics, yes.
Change the lyrics, yes. As you know now, if you've been to a game recently, that's been completely phased out, but that's neither here nor there. So, well, kind of. Us old heads still know what we're doing, but the new class of Miami Hurricanes have no idea. Well, Paul D, the athletic director at the time, did not necessarily like that going on like national TV representing the University of Miami. We already had kind of a convicts situation going on, so we weren't well liked. So he tasked Connie with coming up like, what else can we do? And the U that we throw up was kind of around, but it wasn't really like in the public, what have you. And Connie and others came up with the idea, and had the cheerleaders teach everyone to, instead of doing the finger during the chop, we're going to play Darth Vader. What's the
Imperial March?
Yes, dun 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 dun. And we did the U going up and down to the Imperial March instead of the finger with the whatever. You get what I'm saying? Connie came up with that idea. Now, there is a funny story where the first time we whipped that out, Paul D went apoplectic because he thought that we were doing the "We're Not Worthy" from Wayne's World instead of the U, and had Connie yelled at Connie in the middle of the field. It was like a whole thing. She came over to the band and had to confer with Mike Mann, who was the band director. Like, what are they doing? Da, da, da. Is it the U? Is it the "We're Not Worthy"? That was a whole situation. In any event.
No, I've always wondered why the band and the majorette, well, not majorette, the flagettes, like they have it's a stiff wrist in the youth thing. So like it goes, it's like it's not a natural kind of a way to do it, but you have to flex your wrist really hard so you maintain it, which is opposed to if you keep your arms in a straight kind of a way, then it looks like you're going up and down like the waves. And
that's why
I learned something. Okay, got it.
Okay, so fast forward, Connie also handled basketball logistics. I played drums in the basketball bands, and I think it was during women's basketball. It was like a year that we had a really good team, like the Octavia Blue, Desma Thomas years, and I. Like someone hit like an amazing 3-point shot, and I, hit like a fill. Well, you're not allowed to play when the ball's in play, and I carried on a little too much and cost our team a technical foul. And Connie, in the night sports complex, may or may not have reamed me out, so that you probably heard her voice somewhere on Calle Ocho from the Gables, in front of whatever, the couple of hundred fans that happened to be at some Big East clash in that game. So then we kind of butted heads for a little bit, but then I worked in radio and had to work alongside Connie a lot with, when we would do stuff compared to what was going on the field and what have you. And she was a big part of the athletic department. She ended up, she became the senior women's administrator. So she oversaw all the women's sports. She was also in charge of scheduling for the athletic department, like basketball schedules, all that stuff. Coaches would have inputs and whatever, but she was the one that would make the phone calls. She was an integral person to the Miami athletic department. She did battle cancer at one point. I don't know what she passed away from, but she retired from the athletic department in 2023. She was a huge part of a lot of people's lives that worked for the athletic department that you wouldn't know. The mascots, the cheerleaders, the sensations, the band, all the game ops people, all the logistics people, the people that dealt with travel, the women's sports, as I said. She worked behind the scenes tirelessly. She gave her entire life to the University of Miami, and she will be missed. She was one of those people that, wasn't front facing. You would never see her on TV. You probably haven't heard her name unless you were intimately attached to the athletic department, but she made things go, and she will be missed. So Connie Nickel, we definitely send our best to you, your family, and may your memory be a blessing. So we will miss Connie Nickel, and I will definitely have the thought of her yelling at me in the middle of the night sports complex on my mind for a long time to come, because it still haunts me to this day that I cost our team a technical foul. Fern the Body also gave me an evil look at the time, but she didn't yell at me from across the floor. Connie did come over and get into my face.
Got it. Well, like a lot of our listeners, just learning of Connie Nickel and everything, I think that was a beautiful tribute to her. May she rest in peace. And, obviously our condolences to her family and those who knew her. And, just thank her, obviously, for her tireless efforts and contributions to Miami Hurricanes athletics.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, we will get out of here for this week. Hopefully by the time we come on next week at some point in time, we may have a special guest. I don't want to, jinx it. We may have a big-time special guest coming up next week. I have to sort that out. We also should possibly know, depending on what day we record, about Jackson Cantwell, or at least have an inclination, and hopefully some of these portal decisions will come down. So we will have all of that, plus another week of Miami Hurricanes baseball. I believe they're at Virginia this week, as well as a midweek clash against FIU. So we'll have all of that and more next week. Thank you for listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. See you next time. Peace.